God is telling us that conflicts and war will take us further from domestic peace than we've ever been. It will be war next year. Just remember to tell them that. And this sentence simply is because God is always telling me, Celestial, don't forget that there's going to be a war. And like I said, this thing, it sits like a rock on the heart. And so I'm working out my own future with the Lord. And you are not to use me in any way as a standard or a goalpost, thinking that because I'm sitting here in New York City, going about my life and making videos in accordance with the call that is on my life, that you're supposed to look at a life like mine and then use it to decide what you should do. What you should do is lock in to what your fellow Americans are doing. And what they are doing is making 10,000 videos with step-by-step instructions for all the paperwork that the majority of people watching me have not even gotten started with doing yet. Even though I have been saying, get your passport. Passport is not the only thing you need to go and live in another person's country. You need your FBI clearance. You need all your transcripts from school if you plan to go and continue school somewhere else. You need a ton of stuff to go and live in other countries. The only people who require the least things are young people, I guess, age 21, age 28, something like that. The under 30s, no children, no encumbrances. Those ones are just buying luggage from Temu and they're gone. They've gone to Sweden, they've gone to Thailand, they've just gone. As little money as they have found that in other countries, the money goes a long way. The lifestyles that they couldn't afford here with what they make, they've taken that money and gotten themselves decent apartments and are just continuing and making videos, drinking cafe au lait and telling people, I'm very glad that I left. Americans are packed up in Canada. Americans are packed up in parts of Spain. They're packed up in Mexico City. And so this mindset of, I can't. It's, you know why you can't? It's because you haven't actually realized that the money that is sustaining the life that you have here, you're thinking that God will produce extra money. That's literally what you're thinking. A lot of people, you're thinking that, oh no, I'm going to keep my life here until he produces a whole extra money for me to go and have a life somewhere else. And he's looking at you and thinking, you're actually going to give up this life here and you're going to find out how much money you're actually sitting on with the house, with the car, with your mom's grand piano in the attic. She passed away 10 years ago and you're holding on to $5,000 out of sentimentality. And with every day you hold on to it, the need for a grand piano is declining because we are going into war. In war years, nobody's buying that piano. But right now, Mrs. and Mr. Rich would like it. So it's this life that you are going to liquidate. And then with the cash it yields, you're going to go and find a life somewhere else. And again, I said that this is a very peculiar way that God is doing it on camera. Because what God did in the Bible was the prophet simply would come out and say, they're going to capture us and we will be Babylonian slaves because you're sinners. You've done this and you've done this. And then he was done for the day. He would go home. And then they would talk about him and mock him and say, oh, yes, that's just Jeremiah. That's just Isaiah. And then one day the fulfillment of the prophecy came. Then everything that they owned, guess who took it? The people who came and conquered them. So they sat on their belongings. They didn't repent. They didn't do anything that God was telling them to do. And then one day, the oppressor came. He took all their riches. He took themselves. And then he went back home with them and their goods. Do you imagine what it's like to see camels carrying your best coat with the gold braid that you used to wear once a year at the annual Israelite festival? And then you see a little bit of that coat hanging off the back of the camel of someone who's got you tied at the back, walking behind the camel. And he's got all your stuff. So the value that was in the stuff, you lost because you were not listening to God when he was talking. That is where America is now. America is thinking that protests, no kings, some kings, the king. America is thinking that is going to get her back her democracy. But you're not going to get back your democracy because we are in the process of a judgment. So after you extricate yourself from Mystery Babylon's sins, Mystery Babylon's judgments, then the next thing that you're going to do is you are going to immerse yourself in prayers. The only people who are not going to do this are people who will watch me and think, she's very pessimistic and there's hope yet. There's a ton of people always coming to this comment section and talking about, it's going to be bad everywhere else, so we're just going to stay and trust the Lord. Well, you do that. Do that. There's a ton of people who are going to do that because naturally there are a ton of people in this country who can't listen. There's a ton of people who always think that they know better. And, well, I know that we're not on the same basis. We're not on the same level at all. Me and those people, we're not. So they're thinking, well, if she can stay, then I can stay. And that is the worst possible thing for you to think, because you don't know what God has told me. You don't know what promises my life is sitting under. And it's definitely going to be life for life in America. It's going to be life for life. You hear that there's a war, there's going to be a lot of guns pointed in a lot of faces and a lot of altercations that are not going to end well. And I'm not talking about active shooter drills. I'm now talking about all out war, just the kind that you can see in the Congo. If you go to TikTok, the kind you can see in Gaza, that's what I'm talking about. In those days, I'm not broadcasting anything. I mean, unless it's God's will. If it's God's will for me to still be making videos, if it will even be possible to do so, I guess. Because there was a time recently that he was telling me that I would be his eyes and ears for everything that would happen. And this is just something that I've been saying, that God has always said, you will be my witness to what I will do here. Celestial, you will see all your prophecies fulfilled. I'm not going to see them fulfilled from the moon. So don't use me as a marker, is what I'm telling you. And I'm being quite frank with you. So God says it will be war next year, 2026. Tell them that. A time of constraints whereby Americans can't move about as freely as they used to before. And just a moment, please.